All right, my babies, we are back, love. Where you been? Where you been? Hey, babies. Hey, welcome back. Hey, we took a day off, didn't we? We took a day off. How is everybody? Hope you're having a great weekend. Great holiday weekend. Getting some relaxation in, some stress-free stuff happening for you. All right, lovelies. Yeah. Hey, went on check out Outcast. Went on his live last night, and that was fun. That was good time. Thank you, Outcast, for having me on there. Stanley needs some manners. He does. He needs some manners. But yeah, check out Outcast live last night. Great live. Great panel up there. I was check out those folks, giving their ideas and thoughts and theories about what happened here. Great stuff. Listen to that. I mean, I had a great time just listening to everybody's ideas. Good stuff. You got Big Amish, you got Rolo Mota, and all kinds of. There's another one that jumped up there. I forget. Anyway, check it out. Good stuff. What are we doing? All right, guys. Here's what we're doing today. I was playing around the ISP documents. Still want to get back to a lot of that stuff. You guys mentioned a lot of good emails. I'm getting a lot of great emails. That's who's suspect number one. Yeah, all this. Brent Kopaka, all that. Whatever. We'll see. I'm kind of leaning more towards Jack D on that, because I think they were still trying to get it. I think as this year. Now, I could be totally wrong on this, but I think I'm correct on this. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. But they were getting his fingerprints as late as this year, weren't they? Jack D, right? Jack D. So anyway, if I had to put a suspect one on this for this year, I'd probably be leaning more towards Jack D on that. But anyway, who knows, guys? Who knows in this case? Who knows, right? We know everything's upside down. So anyway. What are we doing? But before we got back into, we're getting back into more documents, all right? However, one of you, and you know who you are, you emailed me and asked me to take a look at this one video to check it out. And at first I was like, okay, yeah, I'll look at it. I got, there's others, everybody's, well, not everybody, but, a couple of you sent me stuff to look at. I'm still getting there, guys, still getting there. But then you email me again. And we're, a little irritated, not at me, but just at the, what the video was. So I'm like, okay, well, I better look at it. I'll check it out real quick. Check it out right now. I better check it out. And so, yeah, I watched the first 10 seconds of it. I'm like, oh, here we go. Here we effing go. It got my blood boiling, babies. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, well, let's do it. And, yeah. And you know who you are who emailed me. Thank you. And so let's do it. So this comes from another creator, Truth and Neurons. You know Truth and Neurons. Subscribe. But this comes from them, and it's of course about our prime suspect. In my opinion, our prime, Miss Dillon, of course. Or the golden thread, as I like to call her, the golden thread that runs throughout the entire story, because most of it is her story. By the way. Anyway, yeah, it is. And so we're going to check out Truth and Neurons, and you'll see it's party or PTSD. Yes, we've hit Dylan hard on the psychological stuff. Yes, we have. And it looks like Truth and Neurons has too, to some degree, I see. But anyway, here we go, guys. Party or PTSD. Now, I only watched the first 10 seconds of this, and yeah, it got me revved up. And so I don't know what else is in here. It's not a long video, so we're going to watch it together if you have not seen it. I don't know if there's a critique, so I try to avoid critiquing critiques. Well, that's not what I'm doing, but you understand. Let's go. And welcome to everybody who's brand new. Welcome to the garden loves and lads and laws and dews and sugars and lily flower and moonflower and laurel flower. We got mountain laurels and mountain lily. Oh my, we got all sorts of beautiful things here. All right, guys, let's go. Let's check it out. Truth and Neurons, baby. Here we go. Oh yeah, here we go. This is where you go. Check it out. All right. Party or PTSD? Yes. Now, a couple of you mentioned before that there were pictures floating around of Miss Dillon, and I didn't know about Bethany, but at least Miss Dillon out and about after the murders, partying, baby, like it's 1999, baby. Let's go. Hi, this is Chris McDonough. Yeah, I found a black glove at the crime scene, and I turned it into the FBI, and they gave me a medal. They gave me a medal, and I said, "Well, we can't really use this, Chris, and but we don't know why you and your wife are on vacation around the crime scene. But well, here's your medal, and go away, go away." Fair use, baby. Fair use, baby. Let's go. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Oh.
I made escape plans everywhere I went.
Oh, God.
If something happens, how do I get out?
Oh, my God.
What can I use to defend myself?
I don't know.
Who can help?
Nobody.
And then there are the panic attacks.
Oh, here we go.
The kind that slam into me like a tsunami out of nowhere.
Oh, really?
I can't breathe. I can't think. I can't.
Hey, where's my tequila?
Stop shaking.
Fuck you. Yeah, it's because you're an alcoholic. Okay.
Hi everyone, it's Ruby G.
And I'm Joff.
Welcome to Truth and Neurons.
The mainstream media narrative that emerged in the months following the homicides painted Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk as severely traumatized young women, withdrawn from social life, struggling with peace.
That's her sister? I didn't know she had a sister. Yes, she has a sister. At Boise home game. Oh, okay.
PTSD barely functioning in the aftermath of unimaginable horror. News outlets ran stories describing them as shattered survivors. Publications quoted anonymous sources claiming they were receiving intensive therapy, and public sympathy positioned them as secondary victims whose lives had been irreparably damaged by witnessing violence. This narrative served multiple functions. It explained their 8-hour delay in calling 911 as a trauma response. It justified the prosecution's decision to shield them from intensive scrutiny. It generated public protectiveness that discouraged questions about their behaviour. Yep. And it established them as credible witnesses whose testimony, however inconsistent, should be accepted because trauma distorts memory and behaviour. The PTSD framework became armour that deflected legitimate psychological...
That's right. Hey, that's right, guys. We said that months ago. You cannot use PTSD as a blanket excuse, right? We said that months ago, guys. You cannot use PTSD to explain away things. And again, you're not a psychiatrist, and these people come in, especially, well, a lot of Idaho State Police playing psychiatrist. Well, let's keep going.
And investigative questions about their actual roles in these events.
Avert your eyes.
However, social media evidence that has emerged progressively...
Hang on, guys. Put the subtitles on. All right, let's go.
...in the months and years following the murders tells a starkly different story. Photographs and videos posted by Dylan, Bethany and their social connections show them at parties, attending social events, participating in Greek life activities, travelling, celebrating and engaging in typical college social behaviour with no visible signs of the withdrawal, hypervigilance, emotional numbing or social avoidance that characterise genuine PTSD.
It is true.
These images don't show young women struggling.
Nope, that's true. However, what's the counter argument going to be to that? It's going to be, well, they're just trying to readjust to normal life. Guaranteed that's what the counter argument to that would be. Well, they're just trying to fit back into normal life activities. The kind of normal activities that they used to engage in before all this happened. That is the counter argument.
Struggling to leave their homes, unable
we know
to
it's
be
bullshit,
around crowds,
but that's
triggered by reminders of trauma or exhibiting the flat affect and dissociative presentations that trauma survivors display for months or even years after severe exposure. Instead, they show young women who appear psychologically intact, socially engaged, emotionally regulated, and capable of enjoying life in ways fundamentally inconsistent with the PTSD diagnosis the media ascribed to them. Socially engaged, emotionally regulated, and capable of enjoying life in ways fundamentally inconsistent with PTSD diagnosis the media ascribed to them.
The disconnect between reported trauma and observed behaviour creates what clinicians call a symptom validity problem. The claimed presentation doesn't match objective evidence of functioning. Genuine PTSD following witnessing of quadruple homicides in one's own home would produce specific measurable behavioural changes. Victims would show hyperarousal, that is, heightened startle response, difficulty sleeping.
Okay, but remember what Dylan said in that interview on 11/17. She said she didn't think there was she didn't feel in it. She wasn't in any danger, guys. She wasn't in any danger. She didn't sense any danger. She didn't feel any danger. Even though she saw a lone wolf supposedly in her house, she still didn't feel any danger. She didn't, her senses, and now, of course, we're going to blame that all on alcohol and all this crap. We're going to blame it all on being drunk, even though we haven't drank anything for 4 hours or whatever, right? No, I'm just saying. But that, well, of course, we know this, guys, right? They're going to blame it all on that and being tired and drunk. Every little crucial nexus in this, in Dylan's story, it's gonna be covered by either I was still tipsy or drunk, or I was still sleepy or sleeping. It's one of those two. Bullshit.
Constant scanning for threats. They would also produce avoidance, like the inability to return to similar environments, avoidance of remind.
And sorry guys, ISP fed right into this. They sent her to a trauma specialist. That's also in the 11/17 interview. Yeah, they had her start talking to a trauma counselor or a trauma specialist. And of course, in my opinion, Dylan ran with that. Of course she's going to run with that. It's called malingering. That's what we call malingering, my friends.
Reminders, social withdrawal. It would also produce intrusive symptoms like flashbacks, nightmares, unwanted memories, and negative alterations in mood and cognition, such as emotional numbing, and difficulty experiencing positive emotions, sense of a foreshortened future. These symptoms don't come and go for photo opportunities. They're pervasive, interfering with normal functioning, and visible to observers even when victims try to mask them. The ability to attend parties, smile genuinely for cameras, engage in celebratory activities, and maintain active social lives within months, if not days, of alleged trauma exposure suggests either the trauma wasn't as severe as claimed, the witnesses have extraordinary resilience rarely seen in clinical populations, or the trauma narrative was constructed rather than experienced.
The specific timeline of their social media presence adds psychological significance.
I always like to compare this fake survivor bullshit to the Bundy case in Florida because, again, those are actual survivors. Now, big difference here, right? Because Dylan and Bethany were not harmed in any fashion. They were not harmed in any fashion, even though Dylan claims to have seen the lone wolf. They were face to face, 3 feet from each other, and again, the lone wolf just walks out the door. Not so in the Bundy case. No. Well, we know this. I like comparing the two because we got a sorority situation. We have 2 survivors that were left. And the big difference here, though, was couple major differences, right? The 2 survivors were both attacked and survived, and they also, again, they testified against Bundy at the trial, even though they never saw him, they still testified. And I'll tell you what, if you ever watch the Bundy footage with the witnesses, I'll tell you what, for being horribly attacked and almost killed, I'll tell you what, they did a hell of a job on that stand. PTSD. Hey, and guess what? They probably had major PTSD compared to this shit. Absolutely. That's real PTSD. You know, when somebody comes in and beats you nearly to death, yeah, and you barely survive out of the blue, it's just a random attack, you getting almost beat to death. I think we could say there's some maybe a possibility of real PTSD there. Not with these two. Absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
If we see gradual return to social functioning over years,
Absolutely not.
initial withdrawal followed by slow, cautious re-engagement, that pattern aligns with trauma recovery. But if we can see rapid return to normal or near normal social functioning within weeks or months with party attendance, celebratory social media posts, appearing while the case is still actively being processed, that pattern contradicts trauma psychology. People genuinely devastated by witnessing violence don't typically feel comfortable in party environment shortly after. The crowd's noise, chaos, and loss of control trigger trauma responses that make environments intolerable. The fact that Dylan and Bethany could comfortably participate in exactly the kinds of social settings where the murders occurred, house parties, group life events, gatherings with alcohol, and large groups, suggests
looks like they're doing okay to me.
Or their relationship
Looking happy
to the
there.
events was fundamentally different than the innocent witness narrative requires.
The concept of impression management becomes relevant. The strategic presentation of self to create desired perceptions in others. If Dylan and Bethany needed public belief in their trauma to maintain their protective status as victims, rather than face scrutiny as potential participants or knowing accomplices, they would have incentive to perform trauma for media, investigators and public consumption, while privately maintaining normal social functioning. The party photos that emerge later might represent not recovery from trauma, but revelation of an actual psychological state that was always present, but carefully hidden from official channels.
Black.
Alrighty.
That's my type. That's my type, nigga. That's my type. Let's do it.
Okay. Got here.
Isn't just speculation, it's a documented pattern in cases involving deceptive witnesses. They perform
Dylan's
the expected
21st.
emotional states when under observation, such as interviews, court proceedings, interactions with
Interesting.
investigators, while maintaining different private lives revealed only through inadvertent documentation by friends, social media posts they didn't control, or photographs they didn't realise would become public. The contrast between their public persona and private behaviour raises fundamental questions about everything we were told about their psychological states.
Fuck is that?
If they weren't severely traumatized.
Wait. Let me back up. What kind of picture is that, guys?
Questions about everything we were told.
What the fuck? Are those streamers? Guess those are streamers, right? Yeah, those are streamers. That's just a very odd picture. Oh my god. Oh yeah, I got the party streamers, but boy, they have an uncanny resemblance. They have an uncanny resemblance to red stuff streaming down the walls. Bizarre. Wow. Where's the PTSD on that one, guys? Oof. Well, remember, Dylan closed her eyes. She didn't see it. She didn't see anything. She didn't see any blood.
Were told about their psychological states. If they weren't severely traumatized, if they could function normally within a short period of time after the events, if they could smile genuinely and enjoy parties and social gatherings without apparent triggers or distress, then what does that tell us about their actual experience that night? People who witness horrific violence in their immediate environment, who spend 8 hours in a house with 4 dead bodies, who discover brutally murdered friends, these people don't bounce back to party life, not within days, weeks, or even months. The psychological research is clear. Proximity to extreme violence, especially violence against known individuals in familiar environments, produces lasting trauma markers that interfere with normal functioning for years. The absence of these markers in Dylan and Bethany's observable behaviour suggests proximity to violence that was different than claimed. Their relationship to victims was different than portrayed, or their knowledge of events was different than they've admitted. In any of these scenarios, the PTSD narrative collapses, and with it, the justification for treating them as protected victims, rather than investigated witnesses or potential suspects whose behaviour demands explanation rather than sympathy.
All right, guys, there we go. Truth and Neurons. There we go, babies. All right, well, what do you think of that, guys? Interesting synopsis. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, yeah. But, I mean, hey, I agree. You know, but we got to think of the counter argument. The counter argument is going to be they're just trying to get back. They're trying to adjust back to normal life. You know, but no, I think it's correct. I think if you're unaware that you're staying in a house, well, see the unawareness part, right? So they're going to say they were unaware. It is a catch-22. Really, it's like, well, I wasn't fully aware of what happened, therefore I'm not going to suffer that trauma, but yet I'm in trauma. But I'm traumatized. You know, just like at the beginning of this video where we see Dylan hyperventilating and, you know, all this crap. Yeah. So, anyway, good one there, guys. Good suggestion. You know who you are. Hope you like that. We're going to come back. We're going to do one more later, guys. One more later. Yeah. But good stuff. Okay, hope you like that, babies. We'll talk real soon, all right? All right, real soon. Again, hope everyone's having a wonderful weekend, relaxing, stress-free, no BS, you know, good coffee kind of weekend. Good coffee. All right, loves. All right, until a little bit from now. Bye-bye.